Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of the BytesBurn Podcast. I'm your lovely host, Stacy Honora, and with me is my amazing co host, Idris Lawal. And today we have an interesting topic for you. Today we'll be talking about the Laracon EU 2026, which just wrapped up in Amsterdam. For those who don't know, Laracon is one of the biggest gatherings of developers, basically the Laravel community, to talk about what's new, what to look forward to in Laravel, things that they built, just generally the ecosystem. And it's for people that love using Laravel to build, to come together and just talk about it. So I think it's really a place where you can, passionate developers, passionate people that use Laravel will just come together and talk about things in the Laravel community generally. And there were a couple of things that were noted in the event, a couple of things that are coming, what's being released. And I think for me personally, I was excited about some of the things I saw. I streamed online, obviously. I didn't go to Amsterdam, right? But it'd be nice to have been there physically. But watching online still felt, surreal. Uh, but yeah, it was. I don't know if you were in Amsterdam for the Laracon
I
EU
certainly
2020.
wish I was, but as you did, I also streamed online, and yeah, it was quite interesting for me as well. A lot of updates about some of the things we already use and know about, the Laravel community. There were talks from the people behind, Filament, and some other packages that we already use, and I think the most interesting part for me was the updates on about Laravel itself, and there's a trajectory that is building up here that you can obviously see. There's a path, towards. There's a new path that the Laravel creators are, trying to channel for the app, and it was obvious at the event. Pretty sure we'll be covering all of that today.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. A couple of exciting things. But what would you? I know a couple of things were talked about, some of the interviews they had. But what would you say was a key or like key highlights for you as to what's coming with Laravel, or things that are now available with Laravel?
Yeah, I think as with Laravel of many years, there's still a huge focus on developer experience. There's still so the event still talked about how to do things and do them properly. The clean way of architecting your code and your systems to get the best out of them. And there's a lot of exciting, interesting packages that were talked about at the event. We saw some of the creators, the co-creator of Filament, give the first talk actually on the day one, and where he talked about how to better build frameworks, and he also gave some insights as to how the things in Filament were built. And we saw a lot of talks also around AI, which I believe we will get deep into. And it's at this point is not it's undeniable that there is a lot of benefits and productivity to get from integrating these AI tools. And we also saw some we saw a talk on database as well from Tobias Petri, the guy behind SQL for Devs. I particularly like the tips he provides on his website. It's really, really helpful for a developer, as a developer, to know how this database internals actually function and how you can utilize them to function well. And of course, we had Taylor himself, the main man, to talk about the new updates coming in for Laravel. And yes, there's some really exciting AI features coming in with Laravel 13. and which is due to be released. I think he said in a couple of weeks, March 17. So
Yeah.
yeah, that would be really interesting to see. Also, it's quite interesting to see that the new upgrade is planned to go smoothly and with zero breaking changes. So it would be interesting to see that as well. But for me personally, I really want to try out the new Laravel AI SDK that he talked about. They are moving now to a stable version. Previously, it was in beta mode where people were just testing it out. But now it's they are planning to release the stable AI SDK by March 17, and that will be really interesting to try out. There are a couple of things that I would like to also try out on that SDK.
Mentioned like I love the fact that when building out things in Laravel that they really care about the developer experience, right? And I think just based off the They Want work, I loved Taylor's presentation. It was very like as a developer I could relate to the features he was showing, the new updates that were coming, even with the AI, the like just making it easier for people to integrate AI into their Laravel projects. And also another highlight for me was the Laravel Cloud. And I think Laravel Cloud had launched sometime last year, but now they've made an update where there's now the Laravel Cloud API and the CLI. So that even makes it more it's more like you can integrate that
More
with the
ways
AI.
to use, yeah.
Exactly. So just having that all tie into the whole development process and making it easier for like the Laravel ecosystem. So I feel like the Laravel ecosystem is growing, and so we'll just be in our own bubble and we don't need to go outside to do anything. We have everything we need just within the Laravel ecosystem. So I am,
Yeah,
super excited about that.
and it's really interesting with the way they've integrated, that the AI SDK is also built in such a way that it integrates smoothly with everything else in Laravel, the queue system, the and all of that, and also on the cloud as well, on the Laravel cloud. So everything just works, seamlessly, being a first party package, and I feel like it's more advanced for Laravel cloud, but definitely you can see the appeal, from how it was, from the demo, and also how easy it is to actually deploy a Laravel application.
Yeah, I think Taylor is also kind of a showman, right? A part in the presentation where he got the call from the agents for whether it should, again just for context, right? So he was trying to show that when there's an error in your code, you get those errors on Laravel Cloud So once it's able to detect that okay, there's an error, it can also fix that error and make a PR for it, right? So once it makes that PR, he now got a call that okay, a PR has been raised to fix this issue, and then he was now able to tell it go ahead and merge. And once it merged, he was able to deploy it to Laravel Cloud, and the issue was resolved. So I was like, okay, I see what's going on here.
Yeah, it was a good show moment to display what was possible with all this AI integration that they are bringing into Laravel. And I think yeah, off of this, I foresee people building a lot of interesting stuff. And given the way everything is built, even the code is something that looks really familiar. Another part, of the AI SDK that also was really interesting to me was the semantic search ability that was also a part of it. So you could basically generate embeddings from anything you need to, any piece of data that you want to search through, and that will give you the ability to basically create the vector graph from your embeddings and search through that embeddings. If you have like a vector database, which is something you can do, maybe like a Postgres. If you install the PG Vector extension, but that alone gives you, it's like a power feature in itself if you have it in an app where users can search with natural language, and based on their search, you basically pull out the records, as if you're querying a database normally, but in this case you are querying a vector database where it searches through your embeddings and basically provides you with the closest resemblance to what the user is searching for from natural language. So that is something I believe would be very useful in a lot of industries, especially like maybe e-commerce and the likes, where you can search with natural language, search for what you're looking for. You don't need to think about it. You can just search. I've once tried, building something like that, but I had to do it the very awkward way of taking my entire database and passing everything into one prompt, and then having the AI search through all of that with natural language, based on my keyword, based on my search, and give me the IDs of every single thing that matches, that search. It worked, but it was a very wonky way of doing it. Using this, searching through the vector database is the proper way, and Laravel has provided, with this AI SDK, a very easy way to basically make something like that possible. Of course, it will still be eating your tokens, your AI tokens are not there, because you still need the frontier models. But if you maybe have your own local LLM that you deployed in your own infra, that's also something that you can use. So it's very exciting times for software development. As a software developer, we now have options and ways to build some even more powerful features for users, and we'll see what people build off of this.
One of the interesting things I also saw that I would definitely be using in the near future is the fact that I can pick the provider and the version I want. So if I decide to use Anthropic, I could pick the cloud version I want, the Claude version I want, or I could decide to use, OpenAI and then pick the version of ChatGPT I want as well. But even better than that is the fact that I can now have the two, and then one can be a fallback. So take, for example, OpenAI is down, it will just switch to using Anthropic. So I think that's really cool. So I don't have to be checking, is there a downtime? It's not working. The thing I implemented is not working. So you can just switch between any of the providers depending on their uptime.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool feature as well. So, it's just like everything that was built was, built in the Laravel way. The syntax, everything feels, just natural to how Laravel, not typically works. So definitely, it's well built in terms of the developer experience for me, and I think once I get to try it out, I'll definitely have some more things to say about it. So if our viewers are interested, if you're interested in seeing our next talk about the AI SDK, where we do a deeper dive into how it works and what you can do with it, do leave a comment below. We'll, make sure to record a video as to how the Laravel AI SDK works. Another interesting talk that I saw was the new composer updates. Typically before now, I just see composer updates, I just ignore. But something interesting happened at work, where we had this pipeline that builds a Laravel app, and the PHP version on that pipeline was updated. So the PHP version and also the extensions that runs with it, and also Composer. So the image for the PHP, PHP image contained Composer and all the other things needed for Laravel to properly run. And the Composer image on that PHP, the Composer version on that PHP image got updated to Composer 2.9, and next thing we know, the Laravel app started failing to build because there was security advisory on one of the packages, and because of that security advisory, it failed to build. And what Composer did was basically stop installing the package, so it basically stopped the installation process, and that of course did not allow the image to build, and until the package was upgraded, of course, and the image built successfully. So that was my first encounter with the new Composer 2.9 version. And as part of the talk, the one of the maintainers of the package of Composer also came out to talk about the fact that these things have been added to Composer for security by default, which makes sense, so that you immediately know when there's a security issue with one of the packages, and you make the correction to upgrade to the more secure version before you push your code or your application to production. And they gave other options for you to also block. So you can also block some packages that have been abandoned. So we see that a lot of times where the maintainer has abandoned the package, it has been archived on GitHub or something like that, but then there's still a lot of people that are still using it because they don't know that has happened. So it's something really good that Composer scans and checks all these repositories, checks your repository to ensure that your packages are up to date and they're secure and they are not abandoned. So that's a new feature.
It really makes sense, but like when you said, you get the security advisory stuff, but you actually go back to check, okay, where is it being used? Should I update it? So at that point where it's blocking it, it like calls that to your attention that, okay, you need to fix this, you need to resolve this. So I think that's very intentional and really helpful.
Yeah, and in this age where you have a lot of AI crawlers on the internet, scanning for vulnerabilities, you definitely would not want to be having an insecure package out there. So this is, I think, a good update from Composer as well. And yep, I think we've covered most of the talks for day one. Yep. Before I forget, there was also a talk about CSS. Yep, CSS. Not really a big fan of CSS, to be honest, but yeah, there's some nice new features that were also introduced in CSS that was talked about, and I think those features actually make it easier to do some things in a more performant way. Like if you want to do a drop down, for example, there's no way you wouldn't use JavaScript right now to do that, or even install a package to do the drop down menu for you. But with the new updates in CSS, you can actually do everything with CSS and without JavaScript. And from what I've seen for the browsers that are supported, I think most major browsers are supporting the features now. When you do those things with CSS, it feels more native to the browser as opposed to trying to do with JavaScript that listens for an event and then triggers something based on that event. So it's good that CSS is also upgrading and adding this new stuff to I think CSS has had it for a while, but the major browsers were not supporting the functions. So now most of these major browsers are supporting functions, and we had a talk from Leah Thompson, I think, from Laravel, that talked about some of the new things that were added that are now supported by major browsers in CSS. It's all good, and I see that there's still a lot of focus on that dev experience to make sure that you are getting the best, and to be able to build even better applications.
Yeah. Laravel developers are well taken care of, like right. So they're doing well. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's it for today. If you liked our talk, give us a like and subscribe. Share this video with your friends and help us grow the channel. And we'll catch you next week as usual. Do stay tuned. Bye bye.